again, YouTube. So I thought now would be a great time to do another video. This video based on let me start. So I went today. First time leaving the house. I try not to do that because there's people out there. But I went to the store to get a few things, and including a bottle of wine. Thank goodness for that. And while I was at the store, my shoes decided to develop a personality of their own. And what I mean by that is by just basically saying I fucking quit. so they're talking to me. They're saying, "Hey, get off. We're old. Let us die." So I finished my shopping and then hobbled on home. And as I was getting into the barracks here, shoe number 2 was like, I'm gonna follow my sister, and then do the same thing. So these shoes can rest in power. So with that, let's do a video on some of the mental changes that come with transitioning, things that I've dealt with. And again, this is all speaking for myself, speaking for self and personally. Bear with me, I'm training. So some of the things that have happened with me, first off, before transitioning, then of course dysphoria, a lot of mental instability. Doesn't mean I'm gonna freak out on somebody or anything like that, but it leads to that mental instability leads to things like depression and the dysphoria kicking in even further, where you might consider self-harm because you can't figure out how to make yourself happy, how to solve the problem that is your physical form. And often it can be hard to identify that. It took me 32 years to even be able to, 34 years actually, 34 years for me to actually even be able to accept who I was. Look myself in the mirror and be like, I am a woman, I'm a trans woman. And that's okay. So with that mental instability, with that confusion, body confusion, mental confusion, for me, it led to several things. It led to panic attacks, which I hadn't had before. But once I was no longer able to hide myself, then I still mentally tried to hide who I was from myself. And so that would cause me to have panic attacks and have very high anxiety. And I didn't want to display these things to anybody else. So I would try to hide it completely and always maybe in full control of everything and be the little big old tough, and all that crap. But it wasn't real. I mean, it was this bunch of garbage. And so when you bottle up things like that and you ignore issues that you're mentally dealing with, then for me that displayed itself as panic attacks, as sometimes the ideation or will to do self-harm. And sometimes you don't understand where that's coming from. You're like, I have good things in my life. I have family, I have friends, I have people that respect me, I have a good career, but sometimes that's not enough when you can't be yourself. Especially if you're so confused you don't even know who you are, or what would make you feel better. So upon being able to identify everything about myself, then first off, before you start hormones, then it was just like, okay, hey, I get it. Now here's something that I can act on. Here's something that I can do. Here's something that I can face. Here's something that I can take active steps on to make myself better, to make myself more who I am and who I am supposed to be. So that was calming in and of itself. All right. But then once I've accepted who I am, then there's also that, like, all right, I'm very direct with things. I try to be, at least. And if I see a problem that I can fix, especially with myself, then I try to face it head on and be like, okay, let's do it. Let's do everything that we need to do, everything we can do to fix this issue. Okay? And so to me, that was like, I need to start hormones. I need to start them now. I want surgeries. I want all these things that I want done. And so I keep pushing myself to do those things and start the process. But it's not a quick process by any means. It can be an extremely slow process. Just getting the diagnosis and going through all the steps can be an extremely slow process. But I knew what I wanted. But knowing what I wanted and knowing what I was unable to do at the moment because of how long it takes, that can also add its own levels of stress, right? So that's when you have to, make sure that you have good coping skills and have a good plan, a good laid out, solid, realistic plan. Because having that plan, no matter how many years out things will get accomplished, but use it as stepping stones, and therefore you can see that you're on your way to doing things. As you start checking things off the list of your plan, then it starts making sense, and it can be calming. So fast forward to the day I start hormones. Now just taking them itself helped quite a bit. Just the mental aspect of taking my hormones, putting them in my mouth for the first time, and taking them. I was like, this is great. This is great. But then a few days later, as these hormones start to actually take effect in my system, and continue to adjust my hormone levels, taking my T blockers and taking my estradiol, I just a calmness just came over me, and just continued to. It's like, holy crap, my thoughts aren't so scattered. I have less anxiety. I'm more confident in myself. I don't feel so mentally clouded and scatterbrained. I'm able to focus in a way that I've never been able to do before. And I was able to accomplish things without focusing before, without a level of focus that I didn't know I was missing. And so now it's like, oh, everything else seems so easy now. Everything that I thought was difficult before just seems so much easier. Just being on the right hormones and having those actually change my body and change my mental aspects of things, and to add that level of calm, and people go, holy crap, this is what hormone stability feels like. This is what it feels like when you're stable in the hormone level that you're supposed to be in. And my brain just kind of started fixing itself and just being okay, right? And again, this is specific to me. So, and of course, being that mentally calmer, which actually is my namesake, so Kristina Serene Manookin, my sister, she picked my middle name as her too, and she thought very hard about it and came back with Serene, and saying that the further I transitioned, the more serene I became, the calmer I became, which is exactly what I was just talking about. And I thought that was perfect, beautiful, and I thank her for me. That is awesome. But at the same time, there is the ability to just be yourself, to stop having to police your behavior. Because a lot of people don't know, but I've been heavily policing myself for years. I mean, simple things, the way I walk, the way I would talk, the way I would carry myself, the way I'd let my hands hang by my side, apparently I can count, hanging by my side while I'm walking, the way I cross my legs, the way I move my hands, my gestures, and everything, and the things that I influx with my voice and the things I don't. I was literally consciously policing all these things for years and years and years. Before, I was policing them because I didn't want to be called gay. Before I didn't accept myself before. But just policing all these things, and it is exhausting. Oh my God, it's so exhausting just being ever so careful with everything you say, everything you do, every twitch, every eye twitch, every hand movement, every way you display things. And when I'd slip up, then I'd be so mad at myself. I'd be so freaking mad at myself. How dare you? How dare you let this slip out? Is what I would do to myself. And then once I started to be myself, and my hormone levels started normalizing and everything, and I simply, people said my behavior has changed and stuff, because it has, because I very simply stopped policing everything I do. I stopped trying to pay attention to every slight nuance of what I was doing or saying or acting, and I just let myself be myself. And holy shit, the level of just calm and clearing and just being able to once again focus on one task as opposed to a million little things, on policing my own behavior. It can be devastating. It's just having that level of clarity and of the level of self-control by relinquishing control and not having to police myself is so liberating, so amazing, so awesome. And that helped me so ever so freaking much. Seriously, ever so freaking much. But that was the biggest one for myself, was policing my behavior, be able to stop that, be able to act like myself, being able to, just start acting. Some people tell me like, oh, look, a lot of your manners and stuff, like, you seem a lot more feminine, in these things. They're like, oh, if you change how you act, I'm like, not really. I just stopped myself from changing how I act, right? So I'm able to just act like myself and not be scared anymore, and just be able to let me be me. Now, there's still times it can be scary, absolutely. I know how I look. I get it. I see my beat up face in the mirror every day. So I do see how it goes. And so there are days, especially when dysphoria is really kicking in, that it's hard to walk out the door. It's hard to look at myself in the mirror. It's hard to talk to people, hard to face things. Just when you feel that, when I feel those days where I just feel like things aren't going quick enough, or I'm not being seen as female, I get misgendered, especially by people that I've said over and over and over again, I've corrected them, and they continue to do it. And my opinion, malicious. Once again, I try to educate, and when I can't educate, then I use policy and regulation, and if I need to, I will pick your life completely apart. Peace, my peace. Now, that's not the preferred thing. I prefer it if I correct somebody and like, hey, it's female, she, her, thank you very much, I appreciate it. And for them to go, oh, okay. Because even if it's not something that you accept, someone being trans, even if it's not something you accept, you're like, I'm not used to this, okay? But it doesn't hurt you to be respectful to somebody. It doesn't hurt you to use someone's correct pronouns. Any hurt that you gain from that is entirely self-imposed, right? But it does hurt you. It does hurt other people when you disrespect them. Okay, and that's an aspect. This is racism, sexism, with any of these things. It doesn't hurt you to just be respectful, but it sure hurts the crap out of everybody else when you are disrespectful. And that would be the method of these things. So since my gender marker is changing the Army as female, then that does give me policy and regulation to back me up. Now, I don't prefer to use that. I prefer to be able to just be respectful, right? I correct it, hey, it's this. No. Most often the response, oh, okay, sorry, cool. And the other times that it's happened so many times, I just feel forced to make it complete. Yeah. And technically it does fall into sexism, so, and being an equal opinion advisor, that's kind of right in my wheelhouse. But again, I don't want to threaten people. I don't want that to be. We'll work so much better if we just work and be a cohesive team. So once again, as I do, I ramble. I start with mental changes and kind of drifted into EO. So my bad. That's okay. I have plenty of wine to drink. Other than that, I think that pretty much will complete this video. I've got a few other ideas for videos, such as another body changes, because once I finished my last one, then I was like, okay, I got some more things I could talk about. I've also got a video I'm going to do on like discrimination. That's like discrimination I've faced, discrimination I've seen, or is common within the LGBT or specifically trans community. Even discrimination within. And depending on how long that video is, and I might make that a couple, I don't know, we'll see. But I've got a few things coming. Once again, there's a Q&A one that I'll end up doing if I have questions. And I plan on doing a training video, which is a class presentation I put together on transgender service. And so once I get better at this whole computer, YouTube, making stuff be functional thing, then I will make that video. And that'll probably be a longer one because it's training. It won't be super long because there's no questions involved because this is recorded. But you can post questions about that one. Same thing with this one. Go ahead and subscribe, like, share, whatever the case may be. Okay. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments below, and I will be more than happy to try to answer anything I possibly can. Okay. Thanks. Have a great day, YouTube. Keep your shoes on.